It's got to be drugs, because people on pure air don't worry about things like that. Mrs. Cosby and I were in South Africa recently. We had a chance to sit next to and talk to the political prisoners. And of course, having the knowledge, television, radio, books, magazines, newspapers, the whole of the media, we had an idea of the beatings, the mistreatment, the inhumane acts on these political prisoners. The question was, well, when the time came and you were free, did you get them? And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, was no. We didn't have time to worry about revenge because we had goals. We didn't have time. We didn't want to bother to stop and strike out at someone because our goals were in front of us and we had to move on because that's why we were doing what we were doing. America invented the cruelest slavery in the history of the world because it broke up black families. After slavery was over, America kept breaking up the black man's family. And that's some awful history to teach.
There was evidence completely, blatantly, selectively overlooked by the Commonwealth in this situation. Again, a huge amount of prejudice and bias by having 5 women also testify to crimes which he was not on trial for.
He's confident because he didn't do anything wrong. These are allegations. They're decade-long allegations, George. These women have no evidence. They went to no authorities. You have Lisa Lott Lublin, who said, I don't even remember if anything happened to me. You had juror number 11, George, who said before the trial started that Mr. Cosby was guilty, and why why even waste our time? Let's just find the man guilty. He said it to 3 other jurors.
Our defense attorneys fought hard to make sure that that juror did not end up in that box, and yet and still you had a person with a 100 complete bias sitting there, not interested in any evidence that was presented by the defense. Where are those charges? Yes, these women have allegations, but where is the evidence? Where's the proof? Where have they gone to authorities?
This trial comes during the Me Too movement. So what impact could that movement have on this case?
Well, we have to remember 2 things, one about Me Too and one about what trials are about. Back at the first trial, if you had an old accusation, basically not corroborated by a woman who then continue to have a relationship, whatever it may be, in this case a friendship or a romantic relationship, as Andrea Constant did, in day 1, trial 1, the thought of society in general was that woman would not be believed. Then in comes the Me Too movement. Now, the uncorroborated word of an accuser, even if it is years and years ago or decades ago, is thought to be truthful. But here you have Me Too, Andrea Constant, plus 5 others saying if there is a pattern of activity, therefore it must be true. Yes. He is facing 3 charges involving one event, but they are 3 separate charges, and each of the charges carries 10 years.
When Bill Cosby was on TV in the 80s and ended up with the early 90s, it was a complete paradigm shift for, especially if you were a young black male who lived in the city, because most of the TV shows were just showing black families and as poor people in the projects, like Good Times, or black people on TV were like butlers, or it was always butlers and maids. It seems funny today because I don't even think you really get away with doing that now. But every major show either had a black actor playing a role where he was serving a white person. With a few I want to say the Cosby Show probably set the way for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because that's was, you know, without Cosby, you would just have the same poor black people. You know, I'm trying hard. I mean, of course you had the Jeffersons as a show before that, but really in a way that was more dignified, you had the Cosbys, where they had a normal American family who was black, who worked, who cared about each other, and you didn't have, you know, any of the kind of dysfunctional behavior you had in a lot of other shows. You know, it even had it was a spin-off called Another World, or A Different World, I can't remember now, but it had, you know, young black people going to college. It completely shifted that idea that, you know, just poor stupid people living in the city, and changed it to something else. And if you and you got to think, if you were, unlike, you know, today where they say, oh, we need black superheroes, really you don't need a movie with a black superhero who live in a city. What you need is some of the most normal things to reinforce that this is okay. It's just to have a normal person. Like, it doesn't, like, we're obsessed with the glitz and the glamour, when it really, what kids need to see are just normal people living their lives. Some of the most mundane things in a child's life will reinforce that, hey, I can do this, you know, be a human being. I can go and pay my bills just like everybody else. I can go do these things just like, there's people. I remember it was you know, this is early 90s, but I can't find any of this in the city anymore, but there was a black shop owner who owned one of the grocery stores in the neighborhood, and I would talk to him. He knew all the kids in the neighborhood. It was normal. Today, they would call that creepy and try to bring him up on pedophile charges. But to a kid, to see this, oh, you know, to go over to the store and see another person that looked like you running a business, it was positive reinforcement. You know, and after that, you kind of, you know, get to promote, you know, a lot of, you know, his stuff was always accountability. And I that's one of the things I always liked about him, was always accountability. The most ugliest woman in the world could accuse you of sexual harassment, of sexual abuse. You're going to have women just trying to get anybody in jail. This is going to be a fucked up thing. It already started, this hashtag Me Too thing already started a lot of stuff, but now if they feel they can get away with it with no proof, this is going to be a nightmare for men. You know that girl you got coffee and you winked at? Well, you're going to go to jail. That's sexual harassment. She felt threatened.
Simon Phoenix, lie down with your hands behind your back.